What's going on, guys? Mohammed aka Magnolia Mo here, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to take a look at the FiiO K17 Desktop DAC and headphone amplifier. This thing is loaded with features. It is heavy, it's pretty heavy, hefty, and I can't wait to get this tested in my system. The FiiO K17 currently retails for $989.99 on AposAudio.com. And as usual, I'd like to thank Rosemary at Apos for sending me this review unit and for sending me the MEZE 109 Pro headphones, which I've reviewed previously on this channel, and I'll leave a link for that review as well. So the reason for that was I needed some good headphones that I could test out the headphone amp on this particular unit. Without further ado, let's get on with it. The FiiO K17 is a fully balanced desktop DAC and headphone amplifier featuring a discrete Class AB circuit, dual AKM flagship DACs, and a 4000 milliwatt ×2 output, which is built for audiophiles who demand clean power. Low noise and versatile connectivity, as you can see around the back. It's got pretty much all of the connections that at least I ever need or would ever need. Whether you're driving high impedance headphones or if you're into fine tuning your sound, you can use the 31 band PEQ that's included on here, or streaming lossless audio over the Ethernet port. The K17 handles it all with precision and retro personality, right? So what I mean by that are these knobs, especially these right here. That's the first thing I got from it was, it looks pretty retro from a styling and build standpoint. Each channel is handled by a dedicated top-of-the-line flagship AK4499EX DAC chip. It improves channel separation and dynamic range. The design also incorporates AKM's DWA routing technology, ensuring a clean background and detailed sound reproduction. The K17 features a fully discrete AB transistor current amplification headphone amplifier, which delivers 4000 milliwatts into 2 of balanced output, enabling the K17 to drive a wide range of headphones. It also features separate analog and digital power supplies for cleaner audio. It has a built-in M21586Q DSP chip, which enables a 31 band high precision lossless PEQ. I did not test the PEQ on it because I wanted to actually listen to it without the PEQ and see how the sound is from the DACs and from the headphone amplifier. I did mess with the various music listening modes, like the jazz and the pop and rock and so on and so forth. It just enhances the sound in any way that you prefer. I preferred the jazz mode because it made the highs stand out more, the bass stand out more, but I would, if I had this in my system, I would just listen to it just flat, right, without any PEQ or anything like that. Let's talk about the 3.93 inch touchscreen display. You can swipe up and it'll change to the VU meters. Swipe down, here you see what the input is. USB gives you your signal type, PCM, the sampling rate, and then you also have the EQ on or off. Swipe right, and then we get all these other additional settings. So you have playback settings, so play mode, resume mode, equalizer. You have different listening modes: jazz, rock, R&B, hip-hop, pop. I preferred the jazz mode for whatever reason, but all my testing was done with the PEQ off. Here you have the filters, so my preferred mode is the slow roll off, and maximum volume, balance. You can adjust your overall balance. You got your network settings, brightness. You also have the RGB light settings. You got the theme. You can pick from any of the given 5 themes in here. Trigger in to turn on the FiiO from an external device. Idle time, USB audio, so you can pick between 1.0 or 2.0. I have 2.0 selected. Languages, others, just have the reset options, firmware upgrade, and so on and so forth. Swipe left and you are at the main screen. Swipe right, you get the extra settings, and then you go swipe right again and you have your inputs. At the bottom right here, what we have is, obviously your on off toggle switch. So this is off, turn it back on. Then you have your settings in here. So headphone out and the preamp out selected, headphone out only, preamp, and then the line out, which is straight from the DAC. And then you have your gains. You have another USB input in the front, and you have your 6.35 millimeter headphone out. You have your 4.4 millimeter headphone out, which is what I'm using, and then the balanced 4-pin XLR headphone out. And that rounds the front display. You can use the provided remote with it, as well, instead of the touchscreen if you're sitting at a distance. But if it's in your desktop setup, then it's a good feature to have. Around the back, we have the optical input, the digital coax input, as you can see right here, and then digital coax and an optical output. You have a ground switch, so you can actually connect, cables in here and ground them. That's how I actually connected it to my system. Then you also have a 4.4 millimeter input. Over here you got a pair of line outs and line in here. You also have a trigger in, which can turn on the device, right? An RS-232 control option, a USB in, and that's what I use for my music. And then your USB-A and LAN connection. And then you got your balanced outputs. All right, so how does it sound? Let's find out. So from a listening test standpoint, I set up the FiiO in my desktop so that I could easily listen to the headphones. And I also connected the line outs, right, which are straight from the DAC, to my Technics that you see down there. It is a vintage Technics integrated amplifier that I've had for many years, and I still love the sound. And that is connected into the Martin Logan Montage, and the FiiO was output via the line outs that you see right here. And then for headphone listening, I use the 4.4 millimeter output of the DAC. Never knew how much I love you. The first track that stood out, for me was the 24-bit 82.2 kilohertz digital download of Fever from the album Genius Loves Company, performed by Ray Charles and Natalie Cole. The conga, drums, raised finger snaps, the bass guitar sounded really good off of the FiiO K17, especially off of the AKM flagship DACs, as good as I have ever heard them, in perfect synchrony. The soundstage was wide, bass was well rounded, and the drums had an added impact. Natalie's voice beams, right, beyond the plane of the speakers, while Ray's voice is more in line with the plane of the speakers. This is via the Martin Logan Montage speakers. With the MEZE 109 Pro, the imaging of the congas as they move between the left and right speakers was more apparent. From a vocal standpoint, there was more separation between Natalie's vocals and Ray's vocals, which were a little bit laid back, and Natalie was more forward. But overall, right, this is a great track to listen to, and I enjoy listening to it because of that, the congos and the drums and the bass guitar, working in perfect, synchrony. On Fat Albert Rotunda from the album Hancock Island. Music of Herbie Hancock by George Colligan, Steve Wilson, Buster Williams, Lenny White. It's a 24-bit 192 kilohertz recording. You have Lenny White on drums, and the drums are on the right. Buster Williams on bass has quite a bit of weight and fills the soundstage. George Colligan on piano is on the left. And Steve Wilson on saxophone is between left and right speakers. If you close your eyes, you can hear clear separation between the instruments, almost to a point where, you know, I sometimes start to imagine them in my room. But that sensation doesn't come from any DAC, right? It takes a special DAC and the integration with the rest of the system to produce that clean, dynamic sound stage that the FiiO K17 was so successful in creating. With the MEZE 109 Pros, the drums are actually more recessed and back on the right side. Sax is up front. Bass was really good via these headphones. Highs, you know, from both the headphones and the speakers are not overly extended and they're not overly bright, right? They're just perfect balance between your mids, your highs, and your lows, right? And you know, that was a little bit of a surprise. You know, I've heard AKM flagship DACs before. To me, they've always sounded, you know, more on the brighter side. But not in this case. And I could be wrong. If you guys disagree, just let me know. I didn't find the highs to be overly extended. I wouldn't say that this is a warmer sounding DAC or it's on the warmer side. I wouldn't even say that it's neutral. It's a little bit more forward than neutral, and to a point where it's just perfect harmony, right? From a music standpoint.
Little Jimmy, give me the blues, son.
Next was Stereophile Test CD3. The track that I listened to from this particular disc, it's CD quality, so 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, but it's Jimmy Rogers' Bluebird. What you should hear, and I always like to read what it says about what you should hear, right, on this particular disc, because it's always fun to read and then kind of listen to the music and kind of confirm what you should hear on this particular track. The slack strung snare drum lights up a smaller, more intimate acoustic space. The voice sounds very upfront, which it did, and as does little Jimmy's guitar solo, very upfront. That's what, you know, I was listening for. I was listening for the voice, you know, to be up front, the snare drums, right, to light up the acoustic space, and then the solo, right, by little Jimmy. You know, it needs to be up front, you know, from the plane of the speakers, which I got on this particular track. From an overall assessment, right, first of all, from a headphone standpoint, right, I preferred the super high gain for the MEZE 109 Pro. The high gain was good, was okay, but it didn't really bring all the music to my ear like, you know, I was expecting, right? So I had to go to the super high gain, and then right there, everything was right there, right? And it was clean. It wasn't too bright. The bass was just right. So when I went to the next, you know, mode, the ultra high mode, that just got annoying. It was just too much sound and it was too bright to a point where it was fatiguing. So I kind of dialed back and settled to the super high gain on the FiiO. And then from a bass standpoint, the bass is punchy, you know, from both ends, you know, from the speakers, from the headphones. The highs, like I said, they don't stand out. They're not overly extended. They are in perfect harmony with the rest of the track or the rest of the sound. And overall, I really enjoyed it. So from a pricing standpoint and from a feature set standpoint, at that $989, right? Could you do better? Could you get more or could you get the same performance if you paid less? Let's do some comparisons, right? So right off the bat, I'm going to say that the XDUOO TA32 high performance DAC and balanced tube Class A headphone amplifier, $999, comes with the standard ROHM, the Roam, you know, DACs, but you can swap them out for AKM, for Wolfson, for ESS Sabre DACs, or even the XDUOO R2R DAC for $1,200, right? But the biggest, you know, selling point of that particular DAC and headphone amp is the tube. It also has the USB B type, right? Not the C. I'm not a fan of the C because it's not stable over long runs, right? If it's more than 6 feet. So this one, the TA32, does have that USB B type, which is more stable. It has balanced inputs, balanced outputs. It has the AES. You know, you have the DAC out, you have the tube amp out, you have swappable tubes. You have so many choices, right? When it comes to the XDUOO TA32, right? That's one of my favorite DACs, right? And headphone amplifiers. I would say, you know, I would rather buy that over the FiiO, right? That's just my preference. The second option, if you're just looking for a DAC, I just reviewed the Topping D93 discrete 1-bit fully balanced desktop DAC, right? And I'm gonna leave a link for that as well. That's $999. That is an excellent sounding DAC. You know, it's super fast. It does not have an headphone amp, right? But it has all the other inputs. It has my preferred USB input as well. So if headphone is your choice, right, then I would say that is not for you. But if you're just looking for a DAC, right, that performs really well, the Topping D93 discrete 1-bit fully balanced desktop DAC is you know, is the way to go. Now there is a lesser, you know, or a cheaper option, or less, you know, that costs less money, right? That's not going to break the bank, and that is the Topping D70 Pro Octo, which I reviewed, I think, last year, and it's only $499, and to me that is an excellent DAC. That's still my favorite DAC if you're just looking for a DAC, right? No headphone out. So you could actually get that over the FiiO K17, in my opinion, if you don't need the headphone. But if you need the headphone out capabilities, then you know, it's gonna be between the FiiO K17 or the TA32 from XDUOO, and in my opinion, the XDUOO actually wins out because of that warmer sound. But that's my preference, right? So if you don't like tube, or if you want the class AB you know, amplification for your headphones, then the FiiO K17 is the choice for you, in my opinion. It's a very good, capable DAC and headphone amplifier. All right, guys, I hope you found this video useful. As usual, please leave me some feedback, some comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.